Did you know the LA Kings have their own culinary partner? It's Superfood, celebrating 10 years and over 1 million meals served. Since 2020, the Kings have trusted Superfood to fuel their players. Now through Simply Lunch, you can bring that same performance-driven food to your office. Because when people eat better, they work better. Visit mysuperfood.com. That's mysuperfd.com. Or call 213-973-6145. Qualified companies can enjoy a free lunch for up to 10 managers.
You're listening to All the Kings Men, the official podcast of the LA Kings. Now, here's your host, Jesse Cohen.
All right, it is Monday morning. That means it's time to crown a King of the Week. Helping me out this week, joining us, Andrew Knoll. How are you doing today, Andrew?
Doing great. How about yourself?
Listen, I apologize. Obviously, I have no idea what the week is going to be like when I schedule these things. But as you and I discussed already privately, yeah, tough week for King of the Week.
Yeah, it could be the worst in the history of the segment, but we set this up 2 months ago, so I won't take it personally. And I like to go off the board anyway.
Perfect. I mean, yeah, this was set up quite a while ago. And like I said, there's no way of knowing. I don't know if it's the worst because at least some got I think there have been weeks where there's like 2 games and both were shutouts or something. I mean, it's
true. Yeah.
But it's tough. But we'll start with you. Your honorable mention this week for King of the Week.
Right. Well, 3 losses and 5 goals scored. So I'm going to go off the board here. My honorable mention, I'm going to go with Carlin Bay. Like you, she kind of charted an unconventional path to her role within the organization. When I first started covering the team, she was part of the ice crew, and they were a really great group of people. I mean, I'm still in touch with several of those women today, really good-hearted, kind people, and she's at the top of that list. But I couldn't have envisioned her growing into this on-air personality. And there were adjustments in the beginning for sure, but that was true. Jim Fox, too, who's developed, I think, into one of the best analysts out there. And it's just been really fun to watch her grow and flourish. And I also love the kindness and positive energy she brings to the workplace. That's very much appreciated.
So Carlin, excellent pick. Carlin is, I mean, I will not mince words. Carlin is one of the people in the industry that I consider my friend. She and I talk pretty regularly. And when I had a celebration this summer to celebrate completion of chemo, I invited her and her husband, Mike, and they attended. And so, I mean, I am here for any praise for Carlin Bates. She takes her career very seriously, and I am always rooting for her. However, I'm going to go with a player. I'm going to go with Darcy Kemper because in the week, he didn't get a win, unfortunately. He played 2 games, a loss and an overtime loss, but he stopped 47 of 51 shots, .922 save percentage, 1.99 goals against average. And I talked a little bit about this with Jim Fox and John Kelly on a recording that people will see hopefully later this week. The Boston game, the Bruins game, yes, he allowed the game-winning goal in overtime, and there was some conversation about whether or not he'd want that one back. But if the Kings score even a second goal during that game, we never experience that overtime goal. So I am just never going to beat up a goalie for allowing a goal in overtime if his team only scores 1 goal. And Darcy Kemper did his job this week. It's not his fault that the rest of the team didn't score him any goals. So for me, my honorable mention is Darcy Kemper.
Yeah, I mean, he was phenomenal again. I think he's having a really strong year, certainly at the minor injury there, but he's been great. I think he, Decord, and Dostal kind of put the Pacific Division goaltending in great hands this year.
I mean, he may not be putting together a Vezina finalist type season, but after a stumble out of the gate for the whole team, I think, like I said, he's doing his job in my mind. Not he can't do everything. All right, your runner-up then, Andrew.
So my runner-up is a player, but actually not a Kings player, a former Kings player, to highlight some of the things that are going on with him, and that's Jordan Spence.
Losing. That's dirty, Andrew.
Wow, it might get a little dirtier. I mean, losing Gavrikov was an obvious swing and a miss. I mean, that was a huge whip, but they didn't have as much control over that. Spence's absence has been a much larger void than even I anticipated. And you look at their current situation, they're in desperate need of another power play quarterback so that they can promote Clark and have somebody to run the second unit, which by Hiller's own admission, they do not have. Then you look at the rationale for jettisoning him. Well, his defensive numbers, let's look at traditional barometers. He's a +8. That would lead the Kings, this stodgy, defensive minded team that got rid of him because he was too small and offensive oriented. That would be number one on the team. That would be better than Kopitar's +7. It would be tops. And then if you look at more two-way type measures, analytical measure, expected goals for of all players drafted by the Kings who have played more than 10 games this season, including all the ones on their roster, Kopitar, Doughty, Byfield, Ederalia. Spence has the highest expected goals for percentage. This week, he was on for 2 goals, none against. He assisted on the game winner in Anaheim. As it's turned out, getting rid of Spence not only cost them salary flexibility and some more diversity in their decor. I mean, it's really, really costing them right now. They've got 5 guys throwing hand grenades out there. They're not giving any kind of dangerous opportunities to the forwards to generate speed and come up ice. And consequently, they're not scoring goals. And defensively, they're not playing well either. That's why they need so much support from centers. And surprise, surprise, none of their centers are producing either. So, yep, Spenny's the guy for the runner-up and also a pretext to discuss some of the shortcomings of the team at the moment.
Well, I listen, when I invite people to do this, I always tell them you don't have to pick a player. You can choose, you can go off the board, you can do something like Carlin Bay or something crazy. I don't think anybody's ever chosen a former King currently playing on a different team before. That's a bold move. You flummoxed me. I'm not entirely sure how to handle that, particularly because I happen to believe that departing from Jordan Spence was a mistake. So you got me between a rock and a hard place here, Knoll. I'm not sure what to do. But yeah, listen, I like Jordan Spence. I think Jordan Spence is incredibly underrated, not just by the Kings. I mean, I'll say this, not just by the Kings, but I mean, he is not fully used in Ottawa either, right? He's not in every game. And I've had a number of disagreements with people about his usage. And, the league as a whole is obviously favoring size right now. Right. It happens. It's cyclical, right? I mean, I was talking to my dad the other day, and he was talking about the Broad Street Bullies and the two different versions of the Montreal Canadiens that bookended the Broad Street Bullies run. And, the Bullies were a response to the fast, flashy Canadiens. And then when the Bullies were, when that type of hockey was successful, the Canadiens were once again the answers to that. And so, it's always a question of the pendulum, right? When the Kings were winning in 2012 and 14, the next 4 or 5 years, you had Chicago and Pittsburgh, winning with skill and speed. And then, Tampa and St. Louis come back with size and, snarl and tenacity. I mean, not that those teams didn't have talent and finesse, obviously, but it is what it is. So yeah, we're definitely in the copycat mode where size and sandpaper, shall we say, are the order of the day. And Jordan Spence does not have much size. I will say that.
Yeah, I mean, I think he will become a regular now. It took some injuries to get him the opportunity, but he's played his way into the role. But more to your point, yeah, I mean, just a couple things. That first thing that's crazy to me, Lane Hudson has this huge breakout season. Everyone's like, oh my God, how'd we let him slip into the 60s? And then in this draft, no defensemen under 6 feet are taken. So that's interesting. I think in the 70s, you had a reaction to dominant teams, like you said, the Big Bad Bruins, the Broad Street Bullies, and Montreal said, all right, well, we need to get some more beef here to really compete. And of course, they won 4 straight cups, so I'd say they did a pretty good job. Now there's so much parity, but I just think there's a league where there's not a whole lot of original thought. I mean, every team in the league started running a 1-3-1 power play. Every team in the league sees, oh, the Panthers are winning. Let's do what they do and replicate it. Well, the reason they win with it is because they've done it to an extent and at a level that is hard to replicate. So, I have my own thoughts on how management works in the NHL, but that'd be, I think, a whole episode.
Well, yeah. Listen, and I'll have you back on to do it. The real problem with me with copycatting is, let's say teams wanted to try and copycat the 2012 LA Kings. Well, you can go ahead and say, okay, the team was X inches tall and X pounds heavy, but you can't go out and copy Anze Kopitar. or Drew
Right.
Doughty or Jonathan Quick.
Yeah.
You can't say like,
They're
okay, well,
replicable. Yeah.
yeah, like there's something about those players that makes them special. Having Jeff Carter as your second line player, or having, Alec Martinez and Matt Green on your third pair. You can go out and get guys who look like them physically, but that doesn't replicate the way they play. So yeah, it's well, all
Exactly.
right. Well, that was a curveball. You got me there. For my runner-up, I'm again going more conventional, and I'm going with Anze Kopitar because in 3 games he had 2 goals, 1 assist. He was with 3 points, 2 even strength, 1 power play goal, 8 shots on goal, 25 shooting percentage, and 66.7% in the faceoff dot. And Andrew, I had speculated that he was perhaps nursing, maybe not an injury, but it was maybe uncomfortable in his arm because he has been. It's been a few years now. Every other year, it seems like there's some sort of nagging arm, hand, wrist, whatever. But every time I think that I've got it nailed down, he goes out, scores 3 points in 3 games, and wins 66% of his faceoffs. And then I think to myself, oh, well, man, he's probably fine. But I mean, listen, 3 points in 3 games. He's the only one who is generating any kind of offense this week, other than the guy that we're both picking for King of the Week. So yeah, my pick is the captain, Anze Kopitar.
Yeah, it was tempting. I mean, had I, taken Kings players exclusively,
Mm-hmm.
which I've done quite the opposite. He would have definitely been either the runner-up or the winner. I'm really happy to see him kind of finding his footing. I know it's been tough for him, obviously, with the big announcement. He has slowed down year over year. As you mentioned, he had a number of injuries, especially in 23-24, that he's played through overwhelmingly. So, yeah, I mean, you would love to see him have a really mellifluous swan song this year. And this week was a step in that direction.
Yeah, and it's funny. There was all this talk, not only about Kopitar but also about Kempe. The word distraction got thrown around a lot, and I'm not even sure that I know what a distraction is in 2025 because
Life is a distraction now.
yeah, well, sure, but I mean, like in 2025, when these guys are making, it's one thing if you're talking about the difference between a minor league or a league minimum contract and a
Yeah.
max deal in like 96 or something, when the gap wasn't that big. But like Adrian Kempe went from making $5 million a year to 10.6 next year. His life doesn't materially change. Anze
Right.
Kopitar has been a superstar in this league for 20 years. He's been on the last contract of his career for over a year. Everybody knew it was possible. So
Yeah.
what distraction? These guys make millions of dollars. They have their own security teams if they want them. The PR staffs are monitoring access. So now Anze Kopitar gets to go, and when he goes to Pittsburgh, he sees Sidney Crosby. When he goes to Washington, he
Yeah.
sees Alex Ovechkin. Like he's getting a send off. But to that point, I don't feel like it has been a distraction. I'm not sure how it would, but I mean, it's not. I don't feel like he's phoning it in. Let's put it that way. I don't feel like he's taking the year
No,
off.
absolutely not. No, I mean, I think it's just, a race against time, which is undefeated. But otherwise, I mean, he's the embodiment of professionalism and
Hmm.
has been even before he became a professional. I know Dave Taylor's talked about that with me a number of times when they were scouting him and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, that was the least of my concerns. I mean, you would almost think that he would be like a Tim Duncan type where he wouldn't even make the announcement,
Right.
but it is good to have some fanfare, especially because he has been under recognized in his career. So I think, yeah, I think he's handled it well, not only in terms of his decision to make the announcement and the timing of it, but in terms of play. It's just a matter of getting healthy and keeping his legs fresh.
Yeah, the only drawback, and it certainly wasn't his fault, was that Kershaw announced on the same day. Other than
Yeah,
that, flawless execution. And what can you do? You can't control the birds. All right. Well, Andrew, so that then brings us to King of the Week. Your pick for King of the Week.
yeah, I think we're going to have the same one, and that is Yoel Armia.
Yeah.
It's not a great week for the offense when going on the ice shorthanded and putting him over the boards is like your most dangerous weapon. Morgie created that goal for him the other night, but he had great instincts jumping in. He put it in the net. Yeah, he's when they signed him. I mean, I knew his reputation. I had seen him play quite a bit, but a number of Eastern Conference scouts that I talked to said, "Yeah, this guy's a unit on the penalty kill. Oh, he's going to help them with so much more energy. He's going to house it. He's not just a guy who clears the puck. He plays physical. He generates dangerous opportunity as a man down. And he's absolutely been as advertised. And this week really highlighted it. So he was a slam dunk pick for me.
What I find most, and I agree with you, I also went with Yoel Armia. What I find most fascinating about him is when they signed him in the offseason, based on the last 3 or 4 years of his play in Montreal and everything the scouts told you and everything you heard, and eye test scouting reports, it all pointed to this is your penalty kill. This is the first forward over the boards on the penalty kill. This is your A1 penalty killing choice. And that has simply not been the case here in LA. He's not killing penalties. He's definitely getting PK time, but he's not the first guy over the boards. And you look at it, and he's got 2 shorthanded goals this week alone. And it's like, well, and I'm looking at just this 3-game stretch, time on ice, penalty kill, Edmondson and Anderson. You're always going to have defensemen killing more minutes shorthanded. But then Byfield, Fogle, Moore, and Laferriere getting more time on the PK than Armia. And I just find that fascinating. And then today at practice, Jim Hiller mentioned, I think it was after the Boston game in the media availability, he talked about needing to get Armia more ice time because of how well he's been playing. I just assumed, again, incorrectly, silly me, that meant more penalty killing time, like reward the guy for where he's excelling. But no, he's being moved up to a line with Laferriere and Deneau. At least that's what it looked like in practice today. So Jim Hiller obviously has a tremendous amount of trust in Yoel Armia. And listen, Armia is putting up more points than I would have expected at this point in the season. But this week with shorthanded goals in 2 games, I mean, especially on a week where that's like the bulk of your offense, it's hard not to go with him as your pick.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he does have a little bit of underrated versatility. If you are putting him out there on the power play, you're probably out of ideas, but he can do that. We've seen him move up the lineup a little bit, and I thought that was something that he'd be able to do. So, yeah, I mean, he's an industrious player. He brings energy, which is a difficult thing to quantify, but a valuable thing to have. I've been really satisfied with his game, and obviously with Corey Perry's game too. I would say that what they did up front was the good part of the offseason, and then what they did on the back end, I think we've kind of already addressed here.
Yeah, I'm going to keep hammering this point. It's just because it fascinates me. He's playing 1:23 per game on the penalty kill in the full season, 22 games so far.
Yeah.
And he's
taking a good number of penalties.
And he's putting up points. It's crazy. He's scoring on the, I mean, listen, the penalty kill's fine. It's, far be it for me to criticize. It's just weird to me that that I just assumed when they got him that is the role that he would be in. And I think I said he's like the very first specific capital R, capital P role player that they'd gotten. And I could not have been any more wrong with how they've deployed him. And we'll see moving forward if that continues. But congratulations, Yoel Armia, this week's King of the Week. Now, Andrew, you asked me earlier on a text if we were just going to do King of the Week, and I said yes, but I lied to you, Andrew, because then I went to practice and saw.
This is not the first time.
No, I know. I do it to you every time. Then for future reference, if I ever say yes, we're only doing King of the Week, just assume that I'm lying.
Okay, great.
Because, and we'll just keep this short because I understand you've got other stuff going on today. I went to practice this morning at Toyota Sports Performance Center, and based exclusively on the comments that Jim Hiller made following the Boston Bruins game, I assumed that if we saw a power play unit out for practice, that it would not feature 5 forwards. So imagine my surprise, Andrew Knoll, as I was sitting there at Toyota Sports Performance Center watching practice when I saw that, in fact, the power play unit out on the ice for practice did contain 5 forwards. I don't know. This is one of those things where I'm not even going to ask a question. I'm just going to say thoughts.
Yeah, well, I actually walked out of the news conference. That's how we say it in the New York Times style guide, which I don't know why I'm still using. But walked out of there with the impression that they would absolutely not make a change and that they were unable to make a change. I mean, just look at it. The change would be moving Clark up to the top unit. There's no question that would kill 2 birds with 1 stone by giving you an effective distributor at the top and a threatening shooter in a menacing shooting position. So that's just like a slam dunk, no brainer until you start to consider the logistics and its impact on the second unit, which, as Hiller answered my question the other day, who are they going to play up there? Dumoulin does not have the offensive ability or the mobility to play the blue line. I don't think that Kopitar, who's played up top in 2-1-2 type looks and umbrella type looks in the past, but as the lone guy at the blue line, seems a little iffy. Who are they going to put up there? They're hamstrung. They have to keep, at least until Dowdy comes back, they have to continue with the 5 forward alignment. I just don't see any other way around it unless you use 5 forwards on the second unit, maybe. But even there, once you've used Kempe as a shooter, once you've used Fiala as a shooter, who do you have that can play up there? So I have walked out of there thinking he wants to make changes, but he's unable to. And I think that's reflected in what you saw at practice today.
Well, I was surprised, so maybe I'm the dummy. Anyway, Andrew Knoll, thanks for joining me today. Appreciate it. And hopefully the next time we have you on for King of the Week, there'll be more to talk about.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, Jesse.